Hey everybody, welcome back to Off the Wall. I'm Mike.
And I'm Sol.
I'm currently actually this is Off the Wall by Titania, hence the pink colors. The shirt is a happy coincidence. It was the only clean one I had today. Episode 5 of She-Hulk Attorney at Law. You know what, Sol? I didn't hate this one.
Best episode so far.
Yeah. I didn't I think I said in our group chat, I didn't want to kill myself after watching this one.
Low bar.
Well, no, like I think genuinely, I think with this one, I think the writing was a bit more on point. They kind of felt like they knew more what they were doing. They finally put some use to Nikki. Like she wasn't just there. And I thought for the most part, the humor landed. It didn't make me like laugh out loud, but I thought it was like decent. Like I felt like for the first time I was watching the show they promised me.
Yeah, it was definitely hitting more on the humor than in previous episodes. I do like, they give Nikki a job to do. Like she's not just the job of best friend, who like looks super fire in all her outfits, as you've pointed out each week. Like now she uses that fashionista kind of ways to wiggle in, which that fashion guy, yes.
I want an Avengers t-shirt now. Right now, I want one, which I love that they changed the Twitter after the official Avengers Twitter after this episode aired is now the Avengers Twitter.
Love it. I did not even know that, but I love that.
It's it's like stuff like that, like meta humor like that worked very well. Even like the thing in the bar where she's like, I'm so glad we're friends now. Did I say that out loud? Like I love that's that kind of awkwardness that's also funny. We've talked before how awkward doesn't equal funny.
Yeah.
They managed to finally find that kind of happy medium of how to take awkwardness and make it into a joke.
Yeah. And this episode just seemed to work way more than the others. There's still things that I was like, in the episode, because this show is nowhere near perfect, as both you and I have said each week. But this
and
is
some people love it, and more power to them. It's not checking our boxes.
No. Although I do want a pair of Iron Man 3s. That made me laugh so hard.
Did you pull a me and pause and try to identify every fucking character they had a shoe for in there?
No, I didn't. But that's like that meta humor just based on like the Michael Jordan like shoes that pretty sneakers there. Air Jordan 3s, like pretty much like playing off of that and being in line for a really long time to get those sneakers, and like him being a sneakerhead, like, oh, I need a pair to wear and a pair to just put just to keep like
you buy shoes just to look at them. Respect.
Right. And so that was super funny because that like is realistic to real life. And I think that's been my biggest criticism, is a lot of the stuff where I'm like, oh, these men do exist or these people do exist, but this is not how they would go about it. Like there's still some stuff there with like the judge and like the courtroom behavior that I'm like, that would never ever happen. But like in this, I'm like, oh, that is super realistic to the real world.
Yeah. I like that we finally are spending more time in the courtroom on a show called She-Hulk Attorney at Law.
Yeah.
Because we've spent very little time in an actual courtroom, and what time we did spend there was forgettable. I mean, was throwaway. I don't love that they wrap this up in one episode. I get that that's kind of the format they're going for. I feel like in any other show, this would have been over the course of like 3-4 episodes.
Yeah. Even 2 episodes, making it a 2-parter would have been good. But we're seeing 2 in this season, even though it's called Attorney at Law, like they don't focus much on the courtroom procedural, which like I like law shows, and then like My Cousin Vinny is one of like my favorite movies, and so you have to like even in those, like, they make the courtroom procedurals much more believable on the way things would go. And in this one, like, when the judge is like, well, if you don't find something better, I'll be tempted to side with Titania. And I was just like, no judge would say that ever.
Yeah. I don't know if that was like bad. I don't know if they meant that a different way and just wrote it wrong. My thing with the courtroom stuff too is it's always been so half-assed. Like, I want to see superhero law being practiced. We have still yet to really truly see Jen as this badass lawyer she's supposed to be, the one that almost took down this law firm that she's now working for.
Yeah.
Show me. I want to see her being a badass lawyer. The best legal segment we've had on the show was the one where she wasn't the lawyer. This episode got a lot of things right, or at least did a lot of things better than it has previously, but it's still got a very long way to go. Primarily, this is now 5 episodes into this 9-episode show. What's the plot?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Who were the wrecking crew guys working for that were trying to get her blood? That has gone away. Titania is still being treated like our big bad, but she's been around for 1 episode and 2 seconds of another episode. I don't know where we're going here. And now we know that Daredevil's probably going to be in the next episode.
Right.
Where are we going with this?
I could not tell you. This seems like a very episodic TV show, which feels really weird in the Marvel like formula. Because even with WandaVision, that was episodic, but you still had through lines.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it was episodic for a little while because like they're changing from sitcom to sitcom, but they were able to still have a through line for the story to then where the end of that story, at those end of that 9 episodes, you knew what the plot was. Whereas this, not so much. I don't. Maybe we'll figure out what the plot is by the last episode.
Maybe because you're right. Like WandaVision, like it was also 9 episodes, and the first couple episodes were very just episode by episode. You'd get a little dose of something going on. But to compare the 2 shows, when we finished episode 5 of WandaVision, we had the Pietro fake out.
Yeah.
Quicksilver fake out. And by then, we'd already been introduced to Monica Rambeau and the FBI case and more of the backstory. Here, it just feels like an episodic sitcom. And if that's what they're going for, fine, but commit to that, because it seems like they're dipping their toe in 2 pools here. They're dipping their toe in the episodic sitcom, but also with some through line plot stuff, but not a whole lot. And I'm like,
and those through line plots are like showing up episodes later instead of in the next. Like, if you're gonna have it's so hard because the actress's name is Tatiana Maslany and then Titania. So if you're gonna have Titania burst through the walls in a courtroom, do you need her to do that in episode 1? Like, I know you need that for her to become She-Hulk and protect, but could you have her protecting people as She-Hulk, like as like something happened on like to pedestrians, as like a car was about to crash or something, that like make her She-Hulk like that, and then because going episodes without her until you get a summons at the end of last episode, or like basically like, hey, I'm suing you, but we don't even see her. That it's just so weird, and we don't even have like little nuggets of her like being this like devious person.
Not only that, we don't see her use her powers at all in this episode.
No, not at all.
She's supposed to be a super powered influencer. Well, aside from busting through a courtroom wall, you could just tell me, which I still don't know. I'm like,
she should be in jail for that.
The whole time during this whole thing, I'm like, okay, remember when are we just forgetting? All right. I guess
just like the same with Wong. Like Wong, like broke someone out of a federal prison. He should not be taking someone to court. Titania busted a wall in a courtroom, a federal courtroom or a state courtroom.
Courthouse.
I
Yeah.
don't know, a courthouse. Like she should be in jail for that.
We saw her getting arrested at the end of the episode. At the end of episode 1. And she's just out selling snake oil.
And then we see
Literally.
like I think it was like last episode or the episode before where it was just like, oh, she got off, but like they didn't really tell us how or why, and it makes no sense.
And the timing of it seems weird. Like they don't explain when did Titania file the trademark on the name She-Hulk, because by all accounts we've only been in this story for a week or so. There's no way Titania had that much product and graphic design and manufacturing done in a couple of days. There is no way. I'm like, I can suspend my disbelief for a lot of things, but the American manufacturing system, absolutely not. That was months of production. So
yeah, if we're I'm assuming there was a time jump that we didn't know about. That's the only like assumption I can make, because she was supposed to have made trademarked She-Hulk after Jen became She-Hulk. So
I guess the reason I'm bringing that up is because then technically, if she's had the trademark that long, though, Titania maybe should have won her case.
If it was, but I assumed that she did not have the trademark until, like, the way that they were speaking, she didn't have the trademark until after Jen was publicly shown as She-Hulk. That's the way it seemed the argument was going. And so I'm like, oh, we must have had a time jump for like several months because of, like, again, and I think too it's because of like what I do in my real-time job of knowing how like productions and logistics work. I'm like, no.
Either there's a time jump or they have grossly misrepresented their own timeline, because that was the whole time I was walking there. I was like, how did she get all this made in a week? There's no way. We can't make stuff. We can't make regular stuff for our own people. There's no way. So I don't know. And I want to know who the Wrecking Crew is working for. That was in episode 3. 3. Yeah, 3. We're 2 episodes removed from that. Haven't come back to that yet.
Plus they were trying to get her blood too. Like, that's interesting.
Well,
like, why are we not learning about? But
they say the boss is going to be mad. Who's the boss? Not to shout out Tony Danza, but who's the boss?
But to give some positives, I know you and I have been critical of the depiction of misogyny in the show. Like, we're like, like we've said before, like, those guys exist, or like there are men that are that awful. They're just not this overt, and they're being way more overt in the show than what is real life. And I think, like I've talked behind the scenes, it would have been so much smarter writing if they had a bunch of like microaggressions happening that like actually happen in the real world when you are a woman. That would really make things more believable. So the misogyny shown in this episode, I was like, wow, okay, like this is believable with like her and her boss. I was like, this is more of those microaggressions, is the way the boss is not caring about just fix it, like kind of things. The way that he was talking to her in like certain ways, I was like, oh, this is believable. Or about like her and her coworker at the bar, and like the way that they were speaking, they're like, they're speaking truth. There are some men out there who are not attractive or have zero personality, and they expect to get with a super hot chick. Like, their egos are so inflated. So I was like, oh, this is believable. This is my experience as a woman. Like,
I feel called out. I'm kidding.
Damn. But so there, like, I was like, okay, the moments that they were showing or calling out misogyny in this episode was a lot smarter because it wasn't overt. It was very much playing in the background, very much like little piece here and there, which would I thought was much more smarter writing than what we've seen previously in these episodes.
There was even a moment after the case is settled when Titania is leaving and she's telling the one douchebag, like, yeah, you come with me, you can buy me stuff. But we see the guy who she slept with is the last one out, and they have this kind of look at each other, and she smiles at him. Because of the guys who testified in the case, you know, the first two guys were just bags of shit and a long walk off a short pier. He was the one who was just kind of like, look, it wasn't personal. I was attracted to She-Hulk. Jen's not my type.
Yeah.
Do I buy that 100%? No, because Tatiana Maslany is gorgeous, but he's this big yoked dude. He's into big. Okay. And so I think it was kind of that moment where she's like, he wasn't trying. I think he genuinely wasn't trying to be a douche, but he was being a douche regardless. So she kind of has that moment of like, okay, fine. You sucked the least out of all of them.
But and he was the only one who told the truth on the stand.
He was also, that's actually true. Like the other guys riffed it up to make themselves look like why
which they were on the stand too, which you like, I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. Not that people haven't lied on the stand before, but like, come on now.
Something I actually just thought of, and this is kind of crazy. So we also see that the one guy she went on a date with is actually a client of the law firm. He's like a big deal. I think he might be the guy behind the Wrecking Crew. Because remember, he was asking her all kinds of questions about, like, you know, impenetrable skin, this kind of what kind of you have. You are such
after getting her getting
you are such a I think we're gonna find out something more about him as time, because there's no way they bring this guy back and say he's like this top dog client of the law firm. I just cracked code on this show. Mephisto confirmed. Anyway,
you found out the plot.
Figured out the plot. Yeah, I thought it was just a better episode. It's still not a great episode, but it's better. If we're gonna start taking this little uphill walk to the end, I don't know if it's going to be enough for me to say that, come out of this saying, oh, I ended up liking the show, but I can at least come out of it saying like, hey, you know what? It started off really rough, but it got better. So there's hope.
Yeah. And I'm really hoping for like when Daredevil shows up, which I believe is next episode, because we saw his headpiece there.
It should have been a post-credit scene.
Which should have been a post-credit scene, which we did not get a post-credit scene in this episode, which is weird with all the other episodes getting post-credit scenes. But I feel like it could get better, but still, and still the best part of the show for me is the end credit music in like each episode. Like I'm like, in some of the episodes, I'm like, I might just watch the pile of shit, but now I'm grooving to the end credits.
You mentioned the designer was probably my favorite part of the show. He was just him, just like, I'm gonna need a lot more fabric. He's giving her the suit. Oh, I love this. Of course you do. I'm a genius. I'm just like Marvel Edna mode. Yes, I love it.
The way you spoke before this too, saying like, I just need a show of him just making people suits.
That's all I need. That's all I need. I've been begging for an Edna mode, like little mini thing give me a mini series of just him.
Him and Edna
oh my
together.
Yeah. I want him to have like an Edna mode like shrine or something, like she's his inspiration. And the one thing I do want to say with the Daredevil thing is just after the reveal at the end of the episode, I kind of wish we hadn't seen him in any of the promos.
Yeah.
I kind of wish we hadn't known, because can you imagine all the YouTube reaction channels that watch this show and do the reaction videos? Can you remember when Luke shows up at the end of The Mandalorian season 2 and everyone's like, oh my, can you imagine?
Go back to WandaVision with Quicksilver.
When Quicksilver shows up, can you imagine the fire that would have been lit on the internet if everyone doing these reaction channels, post-credit scene, just confidential, nothing to you, and there's Daredevil's helmet? The internet would have imploded. talking about this show. So I
way more than what was like how it imploded with the trailer. Like it would have been way more.
And the trailer reveal was cool. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But like that reveal should have been a post-credit scene, and I feel like that should have been our confirmation that Daredevil was going to be on the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
That's me Monday morning quarterback.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Yeah, exactly. Ultimately, a better episode. Still got a long way to go. I'm curious to see what's next.
Yeah, same.
So let us know what you guys think down in the comments. Have you been a fan all along? Is it getting better for you? How do you feel about the whole Daredevil thing? We want to know what you guys think. So leave a comment down below. Let us know on Twitter, and like the video, subscribe, hit the bell, and we will see you guys again next time on Off the Wall. Bye.